Hello, everyone. Let's see where we are. So, we've come up to where Mrs. Mitz is trying to confront Mr. Fawcett and try to make things work about this whole wedding thing. So, this time around, it was the sun that came to his rescue, to Fawcett's rescue. Suddenly, the clouds parted. A shaft of light shot through the window facing the garden. For at least 3 days, Old Sol had stayed in hiding and hadn't been visible to the citizens of Boston, and therefore, to the eyes of the two notables, feverishly waiting for him to come back. At that very moment, no doubt Dr. Huddleston would be climbing up to his tower if he wasn't there already, and this thought popped instantly into Force's head. He could picture his rival taking advantage of this lucky opening in the clouds, stooping over on his observation desk, peering into the lens of his telescope, scouring the far reaches of space, and who knows, maybe their meteor was zipping through the sky on display in all its glory. Fawcett couldn't hold still. This time he didn't wait for Omicron to yell down to him. The sunshine had the same effect on him that gas has on a balloon. He shot upward. Once inflated, he could only move in a vertical direction, so he turned to the door, dropped his metaphorical ballast, and shot furiously towards the old housekeeper. But Mrs. Mitz stayed in his way and didn't seem inclined to let him through. Would he have to grab her by the arm, struggle with her, and call to Omicron for help? No, he had another option. If he went out of the room into the garden, there was a second door leading to the tower that wasn't guarded by any Cerberus, male or female. Now, Cerberus, I know what Cerberus is that three-headed dog that guards underground world. It's a Greek. Is it Greek is it a Greek mythology or Roman mythology? I don't know, but I know Cerberus. This move turned out to be unnecessary. Clearly, the confrontation had been a physical strain for the old housekeeper, though she was used to speaking her mind to her boss. She'd never before pitched into him like this. Normally, her complaints had focused on Force's absent-mindedness, his slovenly personal habits, showing up late for meals, going out in the cold weather without bundling up, coming inside with a runny nose and aching joints. But this time, a more serious issue was involved. It was something that stirred old Mrs. Mitz to her very core, and she was determined to go to bat for her beloved Francis and his Jenny. And in light of the vehement way Fawcett had talked about Dr. Huddleston, whom he had branded a common thief, wasn't the situation bound to get more desperate by the day? The two rivals seldom went out, true. They no longer visited each other, also true. But ultimately, there might be an accidental meeting in the street or the home of some mutual friend, and then what would happen? Undoubtedly a catastrophe, followed by the two families breaking off relations for good. Now then, this was the development that had to be averted at all costs, and that's what the old housekeeper had been trying to do. But as an important part of this plan, she meant to serve her boss notice that she wasn't budging 1 inch on its matter. Consequently, Mrs. Smith left her spot in front of the door and dropped into a chair. The coast was clear. Fearful that the new batch of clouds would cover the sun again, maybe even for the rest of the day, Fawcett took a step toward the doorway. Mrs. Smith didn't move, but just as his employer opened the door to slip into the hallway leading to the foot of the watchtower, she said, "Mr. Fawcett, you just remember one thing. Francis Gordon and Jenny Huddleston will get married, and they'll get married right on schedule. The wedding day is the 31st of this month. Everything will be ready for you. Your white shirt, tie, vest, your black coat and trousers, your tan gloves, polished boots, and top hat. What's more, I'll be there watching you." Forsyth didn't say a word, but dashed up the tower stairs, 3 steps at a time. As for old Mrs. Mitz, she'd gotten back on her feet to deliver the summons to appear. Afterwards, shaking her head, she sank into her chair again, and a couple of good-sized tears glistened in her eyes. Aye, chapter 8. In which the situation gets worse and worse in Boston's newspaper as Boston's newspapers start to take sides, some with Fawcett, some with Dr. Huddleston. Okay. But the weather showed a sincere inclination to improve. In this second month of spring, the aneroid barometers took well-deserved vacations after the wintertime trials and tribulations. Worn out from all their jumping around between highs and lows, the needles were glad to take a breather and stay put, which meant astronomers could bank on a series of fair days and fine nights, just right for the precisely detailed observations they needed to make. It follows that these benign atmospheric conditions were equally helpful to the denizens of Boston's 2 watchtowers. In fact, during the night of May 20 and 21, the shooting star crossed the town's horizon from the northeast to the southwest, and the two rivals both spotted it at the same instant. "There it is, Omicron! There it is!" Dean Fawcett shouted at 10:37 p.m. "That's it," Omicron confirmed, taking his boss's place at the eyepiece of the telescope. Then he added, I only hope old Huddleston isn't up in his tower right now. Or if he is," Forsyth stated, "that he won't be able to see the meteor." "Your meteor," Omicron said. "My meteor," Forsyth repeated. Oh well, they were both wrong. Old Huddleston was on his observation deck, spyglass aimed northeast, and he picked up the shooting star the moment it emerged from the clouds on that side, and just like the other two, he didn't lose sight of it till the instant it vanished into the haze in the southwest. What's more, they weren't the only ones who spotted it in that part of the firmament. The Pittsburgh and Cincinnati observatories, plus plenty of other skywatchers in both the New World and the Old, could also vouch for the meteor in question. Besides, it was probable that its movements could be regularly observed if the clouds would kindly refrain from hiding it for the next several weeks. The speed, distance, and timetable of its orbit around the Earth could be worked out with mathematical precision, and presumably it was at least as fast as the record set by Stigler and other globetrotters back then. Naturally, the newspapers were committed to to keeping their readers up to date on everything pertaining to the shooting star. Since astronomers were keenly interested in it, the public followed suit. The Boston Rags tried to supply accurate information even more industriously than their competition elsewhere, which was perfectly understandable since the two initial discoverers lived in their city. But in any case, the meteor was visible under such conditions that the observatories couldn't help but analyze it. It wasn't one of those aerolites that skim the horizon and then vanish for good. One of those asteroids that are visible only for a brief moment before they're lost in space, or one of those interplanetary pebbles that fall to the Earth the instant they appear. No, this meteor kept coming back. It was circling the globe like a second satellite. It deserved all the attention it could get, and since it got plenty, culminating in this devoted narrative, it deserved to be ranked among the most interesting phenomena ever recorded in the annals of astronomy. So, driven by vanity, Fawcett and Dr. Huddleston staked their conflicting claims. To heck with the consequences, and if you find this inexcusable, too bad, but you'll understand soon enough. Meanwhile, it was now possible for the professionals, that is, scientists, to meticulously analyze the meteor, and they did so. The various observatories The various observatories aimed their finest telescopes at it, and into the lenses squinted the best qualified eyes. First off, based on the press release they received, newspapers informed the public about the trajectory of the shooting star. It is possible. Sorry. First off, based on press releases they'd received, the newspapers informed the public about the trajectory of the shooting star. Its trajectory unfolded from northeast to the southwest, in the process passing directly over Boston, and if it fell at that point, it would land right on their town. But it isn't likely to fall, insisted the Boston Morning News, legitimately concerned with bucking up its subscribers. It's moving at a steady, uniform, predictable speed, and there is no reason to think it might collide with something that could knock it out of its orbit. This was clear enough. So, for all the cities under the meteor's trajectory, Boston included, there were no real grounds for worry on that score. To be sure, the Boston Evening News chimed in, there are space rocks that have fallen to the earth in the past and will do so in future, but they're mostly small and they're just meandering through the cosmos, and they only fall when they get caught in our gravitational pull. By the way, how cool is it that this meteor comes and gets pulled into our gravitational pull and becomes our second moon in 2020? Fantastic. This explanation was flawless, and it didn't seem applicable to the meteor under discussion, which looked regular in its movements and no more likely to fall than the moon. At certain times, though, meteor showers Meteor showers can stream across the sky, and to take just one example, during November 12th and 13th in the year 1833, less than 9 hours, it rained an estimated 200,000 aerolites and shooting stars over one location alone. Given the frequency of these meteor showers, isn't it reasonable to what down the centuries, um, wonder if down the centuries our planet hasn't put on weight from those thousands, millions, and billions of stones falling on it, and if the Earth's volume, mass, and gravitational pull has increased as a result, won't that change its orbit around the Sun and its rotation on its axis? And who knows? Isn't it possible the Moon's orbit might even shift, bringing it near the Earth? The Boston Daily Standard was the publication making these observations, and immediately Boston Punch added its usual 2 cents. Oh, come off it. Isn't it enough that some new shooting star is threatening to flatten us? Now the moon is in danger of dropping on our heads? This all doing of Mr. Fawcett and Dr. Huddleston, and we hereby denounce them as enemies of the people. We couldn't help thinking that this fiendish newspaper was carrying out some private vendetta against those two individuals. Maybe they had let their subscriptions lapse. They would let their subscriptions lapse. Alright, this is 17 minutes, but I'm kind of tired and I want to go drink some tea and biscuits and catch you guys later. But before I do so, I just want to draw some connections between the story and our whole situation. We're kind of in this quarantine situation. Once we get off this in May, we're expecting an asteroid come and move by the Earth, and at the same time the markets are falling, and there is a wealth shift happening right now in the world that is also, as you'll hear in the rest of the story, is detrimental and crucial to the story. I find it really exhilarating that the story is fitting our times right now. One of the reasons why I'm sharing this story and reading it out loud for everybody is just to let people know, and I find it really interesting. Yeah. So anyway, my tea's waiting for me. See you guys tomorrow.